Political analyst Dr Ongama Mtimka joins us now for more of analysis to that presentation. Dr. Mtimka, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Do you think this is the speech that Julius Malema would have liked to deliver last week when Floyd Shivambu was announcing his departure?
I think that maybe he was still processing the departure, but I think this speech was ill-advised and perhaps a part of an attempt from his side to kind of lead the charge against those who are going to still, leave the organization. And instead of him maybe waiting for the slow pain that would be inflicted as different people leave at different times, he would rather lead the charge of, challenging them to live on. And that shows significant discomfort with living in an ambiguous realm, in terms of which some people actually may decide not to leave the party, but he's not comfortable allowing the organization and himself to be subject to the decision-making that some people are still needing to make. So for me, I think this is a panic and a preemptive strike that is not in good spirit from an organization development point of view. Yeah. He thinks that by challenging people, he deals with the uncertainty of whether or not some people are with the EFF or are also contemplating to leave. And it may be that sometimes people stay and they remain longer, and even those that had wanted to leave, remain over time, because the issues, the anger against the, departure of the DP would fizzle out for some people. But him challenging and daring people to do this, and in fact, disbanding structures and saying things like everything that looks like the former deputy president is going to be dealt with, it's really politically immature, in my view.
Does this have much to do with the People's Assembly that is coming in December, where most people would have looked at it and say, well, his position is always secure? I mean, there was never a reason for him to feel that somebody would challenge him, and even challenge him successfully at that. Or is this more around the fact that he senses that there is now this crack of disloyalty that has been planted by the departure of Floyd Shivambu?
Look, Julius Malema has been looking over his shoulder, and he said this on many public engagements, where, for example, I remember in one media briefing, I think he was responding to a journalist saying, I'm in charge here, nobody can challenge me, in certain ways. And also in some other platform, I remember him saying, when Floyd feels like Julius Malema has stayed longer in office, he should say, and then he will make way and without arguing. But if he decides to contest him, then he will defend himself vociferously against that. He even went as far as saying he's never lost a conference in his life, and he won't lose a conference now if the manner of challenging him is through machinations in the rank and file membership. So he's been under siege in his own mind. Whether that was based on hearing rumors about who was favoring who, that's a different story. But he's been uncomfortable. So my sense is that he in that discomfort, he did make Floyd uncomfortable too. And I think that Floyd may have still been contemplating these reports that some among the rank and file membership of the EFF were actually asking him to challenge Julius Malema. It's no surprise that immediately after Floyd is gone, he's making these statements like, that suggest that he wants to consolidate power and neutralize any person who may have whatever impression of power that may be there, in terms of the deployment roles that Floyd played.
Does this then define the type of relationship going forward that the EFF is going to have with the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, where previously they would have said, look, these are newcomers, they're not a threat to us, and they had a sweet type of relationship with them, even becoming part of the Progressive Caucus and so on and so forth. But have the lines been drawn in the sand, so to speak?
So I think among some of the things that Julius Malema said, the issue with the Umkhonto weSizwe Party for me was the most mature and nuanced, in the sense that he's saying, by the way, he dispensed with all the pleasantries from the last presser that they had where Floyd was there. Because remember, when some of the rank and file membership on the socials were saying this is part of a grand strategy to acquire MK Party and consolidate it with the EFF, Julius Malema today suggested, in fact, in no uncertain terms stated, they have no business whatsoever with MK Party, but in a very mature way suggested that in Parliament, though, they have an obligation to work together, even if they have no business whatsoever with MK Party, and are going to call them out when they do wrong, but work together in Parliament. I thought that was nuanced enough, that showed enough behavioral complexity, because he did take a swipe at Floyd for suggesting that, this is a grand acquisition and part of a strategy, but at the same time acknowledge that there's room for them to continue to work together.
Those speaking with, a folk tongue a little bit, saying, well, there's no big issue here, we'll survive, we're here to stay, and so on and so forth. There is a sense that he is also concerned about ill discipline within the organization, especially for those who are rank and file. Is this, synonymous or symptomatic to a 10-year-old political organization?
Yeah, so when it's a short-lived, so the other word we use in political science, especially in the US, for small parties has been short-lived parties, because this is what they get to be. Lots of a flame at the beginning, and then that dies out, and it's on account of two things. At founding, there are a lot of major driving forces, such as anger against the party from which the splinter group comes. And then that fizzles out at the end. I must commend Julius Malema, though, for having held a tight ship along with Floyd Shivambu. But to suggest that the EFF is going to continue as usual is really sticking his head in the sand. The EFF will never be the same again. These two built the party through that collaboration and partnership, and I think each of them had their own strengths, and the party will never be the same again. And in the short term, in my view, it could even drop to 6% or even lesser come the 2026 elections, precisely as a result of the organizational damage that is going to be made by a splinter like this. Remember now, this is not a party like the ANC that can be said to be resilient. This is its first major, challenge, and as it happens with small parties, succession politics, which this is also a part, tend to undo the party. I still think that there will be some remnant of organizational, structure that remains within the EFF that is resilient. But to suggest that it will be a strong, formidable organization, when he even takes a swipe at some of the popular leaders like Dr. Ndlozi there, I think this is being childish.
Ongama Mtimka, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for coming on.